Hereditary is extremely creepy. It really crawls under your skin in subtle ways, and it doesn't go out of its way to get in your face way too much like some other horror movies do. Like, I know a lot of horror movies kind of build the suspense and keeps you on the edge of your seat until the big scare happens. Proceeding from there is just a bunch of sound and, action going on. And it's not that you lose interest, but you're not scared anymore. You're just waiting for the next thing to happen. Hereditary doesn't really do this. It has minimal jump scares in that way, which was masterfully frustrating as it never releases you from your tension. I definitely think that they were very aware of that fact too, and this movie does a hell of a job playing with that. Hereditary reminded me of a mix between Mother and Insidious, in that it had the horror elements of Insidious or something like The Conjuring, how it related to the supernatural and had ghosts and all that, but it was also a very heavy drama with an epitome of metaphorical storytelling. There's a lot to sink your teeth into, and it's definitely worthy of a second view. Like, this is the kind of movie where you're gonna be like, what? Like, I have some questions. It's the kind of movie that you want to figure out. Hereditary also took some legitimately shocking turns that I didn't see coming, both in its focus of the overall story and where it went, as well as in some of its more imagery and haunting kind of scenes. Some of it went a bit further than I was expecting it to in terms of violence or in terms of just pure darkness, really. Like, some of this movie is hard to watch. Something else that I really have to talk about when it comes to this movie is Toni Collette, because god damn, she is a good actor in this. You could see the terror in her eyes in scenes that required it, her desperation and her depression, and you really feel for her at times, even while the film forces you to change your mind about her constantly. Her intent becomes blurred throughout the movie, and her stability is clearly questionable. You don't always know exactly where she's going, and you don't always know if you trust her, but you definitely do feel for her, and you want her to get out of these, scary situations that she's in. It's definitely a very close to home sort of character that feels very real. If we're talking about acting, I also really have to praise Alex Wolff. Not Nat Wolff, that's the other one. He's great. I thought that he was very believable as a kid who's scared of his own home and life due to the events that occur throughout. It made it feel very real in some key moments that really sold everything as being more unpleasant and horrific. Like, I just wanted to get out of there. I mean, I was loving the movie, but at some points it's like, Jesus, that's some bad stuff going on. Not only in its acting is this movie impressive though, it's skillful in pretty much all of its technical aspects. And this is apparently a first-time director, which is astonishing. The sound effects were awesome because it was subtle enough to feel real. Like, there were little creaks and scratches and all that kind of stuff going on. It almost blends in, making it so that you think somebody's like beside you, because there just kept being like these little sounds, and like it was really like getting to my head, I guess. Like, the sound was that great that it made the movie that much more immersive. The lighting is crucial here too, in that sometimes there'll be stuff in the background that you can like only just barely see, and you're trying to like figure it out. You're trying to see exactly what that is, or the opposite, and we can only see black behind what the movie wants us to be focused on. This movie is a master of knowing where the audience is looking while watching, and like I mentioned before, it doesn't end up with something just popping in your face and being a cheap scare. It just remains questionable. It just remains mysterious, and that is the creepiest goddamn thing. There's still some images in my mind that I don't know, like, if that was real in the movie or if it was just the character's imagination or what. I don't know what the purpose of some of it was, and I really want to watch the movie again to figure that out, but also I don't, because that is some haunting shit right there. Hereditary also definitely had some tough moments to get through with raw human moments. We really get into some ugly places at times that is interesting to see from a film that's kind of in the limelight at the moment, because it's quite provocative and creative for something that's getting the kind of advertising and attention that it is. Like, I keep getting ads on Facebook and stuff, so I'm surprised by the type of movie this is. This isn't just like Insidious 4 or Annabelle whatever or anything like that. Like, I like those movies as well. I thought Insidious 4 was underrated, but this is definitely much less a mainstream movie than something like that, even though it's getting a lot of screenings and stuff. Like, this isn't a hard movie to find. It's showing at all my local cinemas and everything. So it's pretty surprising by how dark and violent it gets, and it's kind of exciting that something like that is getting shown so heavily. But I feel like a lot of people are going to walk out of this movie angry because of that, thinking that it sucks, maybe that it's not scary, thinking it's boring, or maybe thinking that it goes too far in some ways, like the violence and that kind of stuff. Not that there's like blood and guts in every scene or anything, but there are just some scenes that some people might find upsetting, and I wouldn't blame them. This isn't going to be as much for the casual person going to the movies as it is for someone who, like, appreciates film. Like, I'm sure lots of groups of high school kids or something like that are going to go to this movie movie thinking that it's going to be a laugh and fun to see a dumb horror movie, but that's not what kind of a movie Hereditary is. So I'm kind of interested to see what other people think of this, because I absolutely loved it, and I'm not sure everybody is, but I really hope it does well, because this is definitely a movie that deserves that. Due to being kind of metaphorical in some ways, the blurred lines of what was happening and what was maybe just like creative cinematic tweaks sometimes became a little confusing, and overall, as you walk out of the film, I guarantee that you'll be like, what the fuck just happened? Like, you'll definitely have some questions. Whether you like that or not is where we might differ, because I love that. It makes me want to watch it again. It makes me want to figure this movie out. I want to understand all of the kind of meanings behind it, the symbols, what exactly is going on. Hereditary does something that I think the best movies of this genre do. It's not just a horror, it blends. It weaves into its other elements and subgenres so that it doesn't only exist just to scare the audience. It tells a worthy story that feels like it could be told in other ways, in other genres, but makes use of this genre in its most optimal kind of version. There are core pieces here that makes it so that it's not just about ghosts and spooks and stuff, but this is a movie that's really about family and about trauma and grief. And it's really depressing in some ways like that. And it's very emotional and real and fantastic. Hereditary is definitely the creepiest movie I've seen all year. It knew how to hold you in this sense of dread, both emotionally as well as just in that suspenseful, scared sort of way. At least it did for me. It felt very real for the type of movie that it was, thanks to its strong cast. And the passion behind it, both on camera and behind it, is very clear. And that honestly just makes me that much more passionate for it. While watching this movie, I really just had this major appreciation for it. The type that you don't get in every movie that you see. Hereditary really just blew me away. It's seriously terrific. I highly recommend it to the right person, because I don't feel like this is going to be for everyone. So if this isn't your kind of movie, if you don't like movies like this, look, maybe you won't like this. I don't know, but I think that it's damn impressive and I loved it.